Boop a doop a doop. Ladies and gentlemen, we're waiting for the network to engage. And as such, we get to sit here and stare at the camera and talk to you. All of you on YouTube, how are you guys doing? Thank you so much for being here with us on the portal. I hope everything is going wonderful. Happy Friday. You made it. And I'll say this all again in just a second here. Once it goes live, but just watching. There's no bumpers on the network, so trying to not make this awkward.
Too late.
How am I doing?
Kind of awkward if you ask me.
I know. It's always the case. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal. It is Friday night. You are now in our caring, loving custody. And we hope to bring you 2 hours through the portal into a land of fun, intrigue, and wonder. Like you'll wonder what the hell you did with that 2 hours. But welcome, everybody. Hope you're doing great. Thank you for joining us, all of you out there from TFR land all the way over to YouTube land and the other networks in between. iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. Remember, tomorrow night on the show, we've got special guest Deborah Varner, who will be joining us for free psychic readings on the portal. So if you want a reading, you wonder what the hell's going on with your life, tomorrow's a good chance to find out. Deb will be here. She will be doing readings to callers of the show. So you might want to remember the call-in number. Those of you on YouTube will have no trouble because it's right above my head over here. Those of you on the TFR network will probably want to write it down, but that number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. But, ladies and gentlemen, I found a straggler outside wandering up and down the sidewalks, looking lost and confused. But I've pulled him in here and given him a microphone. Of course, this is our good friend, longtime co-host and part of the big Paranormal Portal, the big toe, as it were, Mr. Don Longbeard. Good to see you.
I don't know why I'm the big toe.
The big toe is necessary for balance.
It's the big toe on the big show.
Could be bigger, but it's getting there. It's getting there slowly.
I stub it again. It might be big enough.
Well, that's you've only managed to nerf your little toe, which is good. So the big toe is still intact.
Nerfed is correct.
Yes. So welcome. How you doing? Oh, thank you, Forrest Color.
Forrest Color.
Very cool.
Doing good. Slightly irritated with my schedule. Sorry I wasn't here the other night again. And
yeah, we missed you, man. It's certainly not cool when you can't make it, but we're certainly glad you made it tonight. It's just always wonderful to get the band back together, as it were.
Settle down, John.
Yes. Come on, Paul. So anyway, good to have you here, brother. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot of ground to cover tonight. We're going to be doing the news, of course, coming up in just moments here. And also, we're going to get into after the break, we're going to get into right away into a Germer file. It's a full segment long, but it's an amazing story. Actually kind of disturbing and shocking as well, but
those are our favorite kind.
That's why we're here. We're airing it. So we're going to get into that right after the first break, and then we got a whole bunch of paranormal goodness to get to as the show wears on. So I guess, Don, what do you think?
Time for the news?
Time for the news.
I didn't forget.
All right, good. Yeah, you passed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal
Take two.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Network. I'm your anchor, Mr. Brent Thomas, and I'm joined by my co-anchor, Mr. Don Longbeard.
Actually, I'm more of just a millstone.
Oh, yeah, boating humor. Gotcha. I was a little lapse in there. I couldn't quite understand what the hell you just said, but I got it. I did close in on the gap. I'm not real good out of the gate sometimes, Don, but I'm in it for the long haul. So, but we've got some news articles pulled up for you guys. Hopefully you'll enjoy. It's not always paranormal per se, but it's definitely unusual, and that qualifies as paranormal because it's not normal. Here's kind of a sad one. I don't know what the story here is for sure, but this is the kind of thing that you hate to hear about, and I'm not sure what's going on, but this is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com, and it's the ivory-billed woodpecker joins extinction list. I don't know what this is about. I don't know where these are. This looks an awful lot like a pileated woodpecker, which I grew up seeing, and there's some where I'm from. But it says the distinctive bird is among 23 species in the U.S. that are about to be declared officially extinct by authorities. Sporting a distinctive red crest, white stripe, and black feathers, the ivory-billed woodpecker was once a common sight in old-growth forests in the southern United States. With the last confirmed sighting of a live specimen dating back to 1987, however, the outlook for the species has seemed increasingly grim over the last few decades, and while there have been sporadic reported sightings, the likelihood of it still surviving in the wilds is now close to none. Now, in a rare move, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is expected to announce on Wednesday that 23 critically endangered species, including the ivory-billed woodpecker, have officially gone extinct. Most of the other animals on the list, such as the flat pigtoe, a freshwater mussel, were only ever reported once or twice and then never seen again. The reasons for these extinctions range from deforestation and overhunting to pollution and the impact of invasive species, but in all cases, it is humans that were ultimately responsible. Well, sure, it's got to be us. I mean, it was our fault for the dinosaurs too, right, Don?
Oh yeah. Well, spears and all.
Yeah, it was definitely us. I think my point being, ladies and gentlemen, is that I think sometimes species just don't exist. They've run their course, and that can be a natural thing too. And I think making everything our responsibility is maybe there's something to it. Of course, we're not light on the environment in any sense, but generally nature is pretty robust and figures out a way to survive in most cases. But in some, I guess they're just not adaptable enough to keep up with the changes, and that's really unfortunate. Right. It really is a sad thing. But it says Cornell University bird biologist John Fitzpatrick, however, has warned that declaring a species extinct prematurely can itself bring about its extinction if it is otherwise hanging on by a thread. Little is gained and much is lost by declaring an ivory-billed woodpecker extinct, he said. A bird this iconic and this representative of major old-growth forests in the southeast, keeping it on the list of endangered species, keeps attention on it, keeps states thinking about the managing habitat and the off chance that it still exists. That's a good point. So, it's like, well, we weren't going to cut that because we figured they lived there, but if they're extinct, go ahead. Go ahead and let's put in some parking lots, which is really sad. So I don't know. I mean, they really does. If for those of you on YouTube, you can see the picture, but it does look a lot like a pileated woodpecker, which, I grew up seeing. I don't know why they call it ivory-billed if it's yellow like that. The beak is yellow, but at any rate, maybe that's not an actual picture of it too. I don't know. It could be something else. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's kind of a tragic start to our news. So let's see if we can make it a little better. I'm not sure what's next here. Oh, well, this is the reason I'm going to read the next article is not because I want this to be a dinosaur show, but oftentimes we hear people talk about the fossil record. Well, the fossil, there's no occurrence of this in the fossil record. And it's regarded by many people as this complete and static record of what has existed. But we are constantly finding things that we didn't know were in the fossil record. And I think this is one of them. But let's take a look at it. And it says, meet the horned crocodile-faced hell heron. Okay, meet the horned crocodile-faced hell heron. Yep, that's apparently what it is. It looks a lot like that big dinosaur that was beaten up on T-Rexes in Jurassic Park. But it says paleontologists have identified two predatory species of dinosaur that roamed what is now the Isle of Wight. While today it may seem as far away from Jurassic Park as it is possible to get, the UK's Isle of Wight, which is situated in the English Channel just off the coast of Hampshire, was once home to countless species of dinosaur, including two new carnivores that have just been discovered there. See? New.
Wow.
Didn't know they existed before. Wow. How about that fossil record? But anyway, let's continue. Dating back to the early Cretaceous, around 125 million years ago, these two predators were Spinosaurids. Oh, that's why they look like the one from Jurassic Park. Relatives to the gigantic Spinosaurus, which was featured in Jurassic Park 3.
There you go.
Yep, I knew it looked familiar. One of these, which has been named Cerata suchops, Furadios. Part of the fun of these is just listening to me try to say words.
Sending that dinosaur to the butcher.
either I'm saying really tough words or I'm falling downstairs. It's meaning horned crocodile-faced hell heron. Had predominant horns and bumps across its brow, and as its name suggests, would have hunted for prey in much the same way as today's herons, perching by the water's edge, ready to strike at anything unfortunate enough to pass in front of it. The second new species, Riberovenator milnerae of Milner's riverbank hunter, was named after British paleontologist Angela Milner, who studied and named another spinosaurid, Baryonyx. That sounds like a Pokemon.
That sounds like a stomach condition.
Both dinosaurs have likely reached somewhere in the region of 30 feet in length.
Wow.
God, they were big. We've known for a couple of decades now that baryonyx, like dinosaurs, awaited discovery on the Isle of Wight, but finding the remains of two such animals in close succession was a huge surprise, study co-author Darren Neisch said in a statement. And there's a video, but we're going to skip over that part because, this is not Jurassic Park, as it turns out. But I think that's kind of cool. And again, it illustrates that the fossil record is far from complete.
Sure.
And shouldn't be probably given the latitude that it is in establishing or substantiating species. Right. Because obviously we're learning stuff from the fossil record all the time. Just my 2 cents on that.
I bet you that tail is nice and lean, though. And when you put it on the barbecue, you should probably marinate it first.
What would you go, liquid or dry rub on that?
I do a liquid, liquid, marinade, and then just baste it as you go through.
There you go, folks.
Keep it moist.
Yep, Don's got the grilling cooking up. Anybody interested in R2-D2 in your home? Well, good news is Amazon's coming to the rescue. Unexplained-mysteries.com lets us know that Amazon is set to release an autonomous home robot.
Great.
I hope it's got a vacuum attachment and maybe a cooler.
Sure. Hey, give me a beer and vacuum the floor.
Yeah, exactly. You missed a spot and get me a beer. Let's go. The online giant's new robot, Astro, will roam around your house equipped with cameras and microphones.
Hey, Astro!
Yeah? Sorry.
Give me that beer.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see any problem with having something roam around your house with cameras. I can't see that ever being abused.
Oh, no, not at all. Hey, Astro, do you work for the alphabet?
Yeah, do you work for this
alphabet departments?
Powered by Amazon's Alexa smart home technology, the pint-sized robot, which has been in development for years, will be one of the first true home robots to hit the market. Equipped with wheels and an emotive face display screen, Astro can move autonomously around the home while avoiding obstacles and can even recognize specific individuals through facial recognition.
Great. Nice.
I'm sure that data is not used anywhere else.
We know you were cheating because we have facial recognition of your next door neighbor in your house when you were gone.
Ooh, you sound awful like Chills. I thought we were watching Chills there for a second.
Chills is awesome.
Yeah. Offering the same suite of features as Amazon's existing Alexa devices, the robot can can also be used for home security, patrolling your rooms with an extendable periscope camera when you're not at home, and alerting you if any unknown individuals happen to stray within range. It can also be used to carry small objects from one person to another within a household. Very cool.
Nice. Can you get my slippers?
Yeah, exactly. Let's give it a little wagon, load that up, and go. Bring me some chips. And where's the remote, damn it? As always, however, the elephant in the room with this device is privacy.
No.
Thank you.
Wow.
There's no doubt a lot of people will not take too kindly to the idea of playing host to a mobile robot that can record video and audio of their home at all times of the day and night.
Wow.
To combat these concerns, Amazon has made it clear that Astro can be restricted from entering certain areas and is also...
Don't take that left.
Stay out of the hooch room. And it's also possible to disable the camera and microphone with a switch. The price tag, too, is likely to be a concern. Astro is currently available only to select customers for $999.99. And once it hits retail, it will sell for an even higher price tag of $1,500. Jeez.
No, thank you.
Whether it will ultimately catch on with consumers remains to be seen. Well, I mean, give it more function. It can walk around your house. I do kind of dig the home security feature. I do.
Right.
But I mean, seriously, like get it to drag a vacuum. Like put a vacuum attachment on this thing and make it like and a dry, like a mopping attachment as well. Let's have this thing do stuff. Make it useful. It might be worth $1,500 then, But anyway,
you know what I find ironic?
What?
That it's basically it's a robot that's gets around your house. It's basically a robotic maid minus the maid stuff, right? So they named it Astro and not Rosie.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, exactly. From the Jetsons.
The Jetsons, yeah.
Yep. Astro. Well, I hope they come out with a Rosie then, because that's the attachment that I want.
If
I want
she
the one
can
that
cook, I'll keep her.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But there you go, folks. That's on the building blocks. It was only a matter of time before we get our own droids and stuff. So it's coming.
iRobot is only decades away.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, folks. All right, let's continue on our news quest here. We have 10 minutes left. We're doing good. Here's so weird one. Now this is just the stupid list.
Okay.
I don't know how this works, but apparently art is always very subjective, ladies and gentlemen, and what one person considers art, another person considers a felony. Case in point, artist steals money and calls the theft work of art. An artist from Denmark did a runner with the museum's cash and then defined the incident itself as art. So he took off with the cash. According to reports, Danish artist Jens Hanning had received 534,000 Danish krone from the Kunsten Museum of Modern Art in Aalborg with the expectation that he would recreate two of his previous works that literally framed the banknotes themselves as an artistic depiction of the relationship between art and working life. Instead, however, Harning seemingly did a runner with the money in protest over what he described as miserable working conditions and low pay.
Really? You sit at home, you paint a picture, and then you put it in a gallery, and then you get paid $534,000 for it, or whatever that equivalent is, and you're going to complain about horrible work conditions?
Yes.
Clean your house.
Instead, however, Hanning seemingly did it. Oh, I did that. Having returned 2 empty picture frames to the museum, he took things one step further by declaring that his theft of the money was itself a work of art that he had entitled "Take the Money and Run."
Oh my!
No, it's not going to happen. Hanning was quoted as saying, when approached about returning the stolen money to the museum, "The work is that I have taken their money." Wow. The commissioned work, he argued, would have required him to pay over 3,300 euros of his own money, as opposed to actually earning him money for the time put into making it. How long does it take to make an empty picture frame done?
I don't know. But Rachel brings up the point about the banana duct tape to the wall.
Yeah, well, that's stupid. That's a whole nother level of stupid, too. I encourage other people who have working conditions as miserable as mine to do the same. He said if they're sitting in some crappy job and not getting paid and are actually being asked to pay money to go to work, then grab what you can and beat it.
Wow.
The museum is expected to take legal action early next year if the money is not returned.
Well, if they were in the United States, that would be premeditated, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, $530,000.
Well, we don't know what that means.
Well, but still, you'd still be in the hundreds of grand.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And, but that would be like, a Class A felony. See ya. Bye-bye.
Let's see.
Have 25 years for art theft, stupid.
How much dollars is... And then I just got to paste this.
Krona.
Danish krone. Krone. What is it? Let's see. How much... it would be actually, it's like $80,000. Yeah. Jesus. Wow.
Yeah.
They paid this dude $80,000 and he returned 2 picture frames and he's whining.
Yeah.
Oh man, this guy needs to go dig ditches. Screw that idiot.
He needs to go dig holes.
He needs to go dig holes.
LaBeouf.
Yeah. Do it. Do it. I'm just saying that's a lot of money to put 2 picture frames as a return.
Maggie says my whole house is a work of art. Somebody stole your house?
Well, I mean, Jesus, that's a terrible thing. Here's the next one. Human-like figure floats eerily over California, or should we say Mylar balloon, maybe? This is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Peculiar video footage has emerged showing a vaguely humanoid shape floating across the sky over Burbank. Recorded by Pablo Morales on this particularly thundery day earlier this month, the anomalous object has no discernible features and does not appear to be an aircraft. Morales, who was with his family at the time, was seemingly so taken aback by what he was seeing that in the video that he can actually be heard suggesting that the spectacle has divine significance. Is that Jesus Christ? He can be heard saying, "Please, oh Father God." I don't think he meant it like that. I think it was a different.
Some little different inflection there.
Inflection, okay, exactly. Skeptics, meanwhile, have argued that the object is more likely to be a novelty balloon or perhaps a bunch of balloons that has escaped its moorings and has been blown through the sky by the wind. Without clearer footage, however, it will be difficult to know for sure what it could be.
So did it escape its morons? Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, I don't know. It sounds like, I think balloon. I think if you see something like this, your first guess should be balloon. I don't think you start at Jesus and then go backwards. I don't think you do that. I think you start at balloons and then work your way to Jesus eventually. But that's just me. I'm a little old-fashioned, I guess.
Oh, boy.
I don't know what's wrong with people. I mean, I know people
divine
are...
providence.
Yeah, I mean, people are desperately waiting for those divine signals, but,
yes,
you know, you don't start at Jesus and then work down. Here's the next one.
Oh, my.
This one's kind of interesting. A lot of us have wondered, why doesn't Bigfoot use tools? Well, maybe he does. This is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. Man tells cops Bigfoot attacked him with an axe. This is from May of 2019, so it's a bit back in the archives here. But officers in Klamath County, Oregon, recently responded to what turned out to be a rather strange 911 call. The peculiar incident began late on Wednesday evening when Klamath County 911 dispatch received an emergency call from a man who claimed that someone was trying to kill him with an axe.
Oh.
According to Klamath County Deputy District Attorney Cole Chase, the individual in question provided very little information about what was happening and was threatening, rude, and abusive.
Huh.
Officers raced to the scene. However, when they got there, they found no sign of an attacker. When queried about what had happened, the man claimed it was Bigfoot who had attacked him.
Oh, my.
The defendant, Mr. Drennan, he's a defendant now. Mr. Drennan was combative, made some threats, but ultimately was taken into custody without any physical incident, said Chase. Upon subsequent investigation, there were no signs that Bigfoot was present. The man ended up being charged with initiating a false report, misusing the emergency number.
Well, there you have it.
Yep, that's why they called him defendant.
Yes.
That's always a sign that your report has gone sideways, when they call you defendant and not caller.
Concerned citizen.
Yeah, so there you go. Maybe Bigfoot is using axes. I don't think it's beyond the scope of reason or a possibility that they could pick up an axe and probably wreck a whole lot of days with that. But generally they don't, for whatever reason. But anyway, that's kind of the curiosity that we call the Paranormal Portal News, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this presentation of the news. Let's see where we're at with the time. That's a pretty good time.
Good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and at it with the news is over. I hope you enjoyed the news. I always enjoy doing the news. That's a lot of fun. Just some weird stuff, you know.
Why? How do you find some of these ridiculous things? I mean,
unexplained-mysteries.com.
Yeah.
It's like the treasure trove of news.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant site. I love that site.
I took 534,000 kronen and
called it art.
Gave them empty picture frames.
Yeah, there you go, folks.
Awesome.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to steal this stuff.
And definitely, by all means, folks, go out and support that site. Go check it out. Read through it. There's tons and tons and tons of weird things over there, and wonderful things too. They do a great job on not only the serious but also the bizarre and weird and paranormal, UFO-y, ghosty. They got the whole gambit covered over there. So
what's wrong with my camera?
I'm not sure. Let's see.
It's on the wrong screen.
It is. Oops. Yeah, there you go. Sorry.
Hey!
There you go. There we go. I guess we're all here now. Sorry about that. I just had the other camera going, I guess.
Well, you're unfortunately used to me not being here.
I
right
know.
now,
It's
so,
just gotten that way. It's like I'm used to Sheldon sitting in.
Yeah.
But I got to do that through Skype.
He's
with him.
okay.
He's doing a great job.
Good.
He really is.
Good.
We are, of course, going to be going to break here shortly. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive right into the Germer files because I want to make sure we got the full time allotment to get through that. It's going to be, it's a really, really wild story. It's one I've heard, I heard years ago when it was new on Sasquatch Chronicles, and hearing it again is just like, oh, it's such a weird situation, but the descriptions you're going to hear are just really intense. It is what it is. I've heard stories like it before, so it's kind of cool to hear, this person coming forward with this incredible story. And I'm not going to go into it too much because you're just going to have to wait and see what it is. But it's another excellent Germer file. Now, in other relevant news, just to let you know, there won't be the spaces between tonight. Paisley needs to step back and take a break. She's got a lot of things cooking. Yep.
She does.
So just to let you know, but I'm sure there will be a rebroadcast on TFR if you want to listen to another one of her shows you might have missed. So we're going to go to break, folks. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more of the Paranormal Portal.
I was 7 years old. I'm 36 years old now. So this was well over 20 years ago. I'm the oldest of six kids. I'm a mama's boy. If you look in the dictionary and look up mama's boy, you'll have my picture right there beside it. So I'm the oldest of six kids, and had a lot of responsibility on me. I was forced to be the man of the house at an early age. My dad, I never saw my mom and my dad together. My dad was in and out of prison for a lot of my life, so my mom raised me. I still love my dad, still talk to him every day, but my mom raised me. To get away from the stress during the weekend, I would ask my grandmother and my grandfather if I could spend the weekend to get away from the stress during the week, because I babysat a lot. My mom worked multiple jobs. I would sometimes ask my grandmother and my grandfather if I could spend the night at their place. And a lot of the grandkids always felt that I was their favorite because they would actually spend the night, and my grandmother and my grandfather wouldn't let them stay, but they would let me stay. So this particular Saturday morning, we were down at my grandmother's house, and I asked to spend the night, and they agreed, and everybody ended up leaving around maybe 1 or 2 p.m. in the evening. I can't really remember the exact times, but I know it was daylight. And we left to go to the grocery store to pick up a few things, and we went to Walmart to pick up a few things. And I remember being in the back seat and my grandmother and my grandfather having a conversation, and they were talking, and they said, I wonder if the shadows are going to show up tonight, if the ghosts are going to show up tonight. So I didn't think much of it, just sit in the back seat. So we get out, we make grocery, we as you can see, I said make grocery. That's Southern people talk. Most people say buy grocery. Cedric, how are you going to make grocery? But that's the Mississippi in me. We go to the store, we make grocery, and we go back home. I want to say the neighborhood, Wes. If we could talk a few minutes afterwards, I'll tell you exactly what the neighborhood is, and I'll give you a little history on it. But if I was to tell you where this neighborhood is at, people from my hometown would know exactly where I'm talking about. A lot of weird and crazy and strange things go on there. So anyway, fast forward, we get back to the house. It's maybe around 3:00, we'll say. So I'm playing outside, running around. My grandmother, she's in there cooking and different things like that. For my grandfather, he was a man of man. He was a really, really manly man. He rough and rugged, big guy, 350 pounds, solid, just, big black guy, no nonsense type of guy. But he was really good with us as kids, but we knew how far to go. So my grandmother was a strong, black woman, the homemaker, a nourisher, and her food would make your mouth water while you're eating her food. She make the best seafood gumbo you ever taste in your life. So she's cooking and getting dinner and stuff ready, and I'm the only grandchild there. So by that time they call me in. Let's just say I want to be 100% truthful with you. I don't know the times, but let's just say it's around 5:00 now. So in Mississippi at this time, the sun is about to set, right? So they call me in and they said, hey, come on in. It's time to, take your shower, and we're going to get ready to sit down and eat. So I go in and I bathe. We didn't have a shower. Let me digress. We didn't have a shower. I bathed and got myself together. And so by the time we sat down, the sun is really starting to set to where the sky is starting to change, where it's going to get ready to get dark. So my grandmother and my grandfather, they go out and they sit on the porch. And the only reason why I don't want this story being told is because they're still living, and I know it'll be a lot of controversy. But anyway, so they go out and they sit on the porch. I'm sitting there and I'm watching television. Me and my grandmother, used to like Showtime at the Apollo. We would watch that together. But it didn't, at the time, I think that didn't come on until like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. So we still had a few hours. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Let's just say maybe it's around 6:30 or 7 now. So it's gotten dark, but if you were driving on a road with your lights off, you could still see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's kind of that twilight, twilight. Yeah.
Yep. So it's dark now. I'm sitting there watching television, and they're sitting out on the porch. And so let me try to explain this to you. So the way this house is set up, I'm going to be going home soon, and I'm going to send you a picture. And this is what really gives me relief to hear some of the stories, because for a long time I felt that what happened really didn't happen, because I just kind of put it out of my mind. But I'll tell you why I know what happened really happened, because I got confirmation from my mom, who passed away 6 years ago from a brain aneurysm. A blood vessel burst in her brain and it killed her. She never woke up from it. So it's starting to get dark. My grandmother, my grandfather sitting on the porch. So the way this porch set up was, this porch had to be about, let's say, maybe 7 feet wide, but it was a screened-in porch, a box house. It was a house shaped like a big box. In Mississippi, they call what you have shotgun houses. If you walk in the front door, you can immediately see the back door, right? So if you walk through the front door, it's like a hallway. You may walk maybe 10 feet and it'll open up into the kitchen, but the bathroom and the bedrooms, they're off to each side of the hallway. So if I walk through the front door, I can immediately see the back door straight through the hallway. That's in Mississippi. You probably heard of that before, but that's called a shotgun house. So this house is shaped like a big box, but this house sits up on four big brick beams. So you have one big beam at the corner, and I would say those beams are about maybe 4 feet high. But this house sits up off the ground. As kids, we could go up under that house and kind of play around. As a kid, you could stand up under it. It was dusty and dirty under there, but we would go up under that house and play and different things like that. So there's 4 big concrete beams that this house sits up off of. And to get up to the front door of the porch, you may have to walk up maybe 6 to 8 concrete steps to open up the front, the screen door to the porch. You get onto the porch, and then you walk maybe another 2 feet, and then you open up the front door. So my grandmother and my grandfather, they're sitting out here on the front porch. So as you described, you say it's around the twilight time where it's dark, but you can still see. I walk out to the porch and I'm listening to them talk. And my grandmother and my grandfather, they're staring across the street. So by the way that this house, it sits up on a hill, but it sits up on this beam. So down, and I'm not good with my distance, I would say, man, maybe about 70 yards. I would say this house is about 70 yards away. Down, if I'm sitting on the porch and my grandmother and my grandfather are sitting to the front of the porch and they're in their chairs, they can look down on this double wide trailer. Now, this older woman who was Native American and African American, she had built a porch and different things like that so the porch was something that was created by someone afterwards once she purchased that house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so she kind of added on to the house. She built like, a porch and a back little deck area. The porch area was closed in. It had a tin top on it, but it was, really nice, like a light brown wood type porch on it where she could come out and sit outside. So if we're looking down, we can see her entire yard except for her backyard. there was a street that separated my grandparents' house from her house, but we could see our house as clear as day. So I walk outside, and my Medea and my dad, I call my grandma Medea, and I call my granddad Dad. My Medea and my dad, they're both sitting out there on the porch, and my grandmother asked Dad, "Oh, look, do you see it?" And I attempting to say their names, and my granddad said, "Yeah, I see it." So I'm looking, I look, all around, and I don't see what they see. And my granddad said, "It's at the window." So I'm looking around, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what they're seeing. I'm still not figuring out exactly what they've keyed in on. And I hear a loud bump, but what it was a slap on the trailer is what I really think it was. I think this thing slapped the trailer. And when this thing slapped the trailer, the living room light went off and the kitchen light came on. And now I'm looking at this thing, and it's huge, man. This thing is huge, and it has the same color fur as a silverback gorilla without the silver, and it looks like a freaking baboon with maybe 3 pair of shoulder pads on going across, and towards the hips it makes like a V, and the legs protrude out a little bit more. The hips are not as wide as the shoulders, but the hips are about halfway wide as the shoulders. And I'm looking at this freaking huge baboon face, hairy covered creature standing at the kitchen window. So the living room light goes out, the kitchen light comes on, and this woman comes to the kitchen window, and this thing has to like almost peep down into the kitchen window. This is just how tall this thing is. This woman I'm looking at this little lady. She looks at this thing. I can see her face. She looks at this thing. This thing looks back at her, and I can see his cheeks come in and out, and it blows. Oof. Oof. She looks at it. It gives two. Oof. Oof. She leaves away from the window. She walks back towards the living room. She opens up her front door. Have you, Wes, have you ever been coon hunting before?
I haven't, no. I know it's big down there in Mississippi, though.
Yes, sir. We will substitute a coon for a turkey on Thanksgiving any day. This woman brings out, first she sets out a coon. It's a coon trap, and it has a cat in it. She sets that out on the porch. She goes back and she gets another trap, and it's a raccoon in the trap. She sets that out on the porch. Now here's where the thing I can only describe as a giant spider comes from around the porch. My grandmother or my granddad says, "Oh, look, there's another one." So when the head pops on, the woman has floodlights on the side of her trailer. When the floodlights come on, it draws my attention to the reason why the floodlights popped on in the first place. I see a huge head, just a head, kind of peeping from around the corner of this trailer. And then I see what would be the right arm comes from around. And some of the body kind of snakes around the trailer. And then I can see the left arm come around. And the body of this thing comes around. And I see something that's dangling. And I'm thinking, okay, these are arms. But the arms look too small to be arms. So when the rest of the body comes around, it's crawling. But it's up off the ground. But it's on like a belly crawl, but it's on all fours almost. So that's when I see the other two legs. So I'm thinking that, I'm like, what the hell is this? So now, as I explained to you earlier, I realized I saw two arms, two breasts, and then the rest of the legs. This thing crawls to the front porch and stands up. This thing is about maybe a foot and a half smaller than what's standing at the window. But now this thing is now looking over at the thing that's on all fours, walk towards the porch. This thing stands up, and the raccoon and the freaking cat is going bananas in the cage. It's going freaking bananas in the cage. This thing picks it up, walks back around to the back of the trailer where it came from. The big thing that was standing at the window gives another woof and walks off, and they leave. This is what bothers me. And this is why I wish to remain anonymous. Like, I get emotional, man, because I speak from my heart. You know, people say I wear my heart on my sleeve. That's just me. You know, that's the way God wired me. I can't change that about myself. I'm actually getting a little teary-eyed talking about it. I wish for the life of me that I could remember that date that happened. Because being in the backseat of that car, they knew whatever showed up that night was going to show up. No one can tell me that they didn't know whatever was going to show up that night was going to show up, because they talked about it on the way home, that they wondered if the shadow was going to show up or the ghost was going to show up. They sat there and watched it like it was normal, man. They sat there and watched it like it was normal. That's the only way I can explain that to you. And they whispered and talked to one another to make sure that each other was seeing everything. So this is where I'm really going to get emotional, right? My mom, who I would give my life for, I would give my right arm. The Lord has blessed me to do pretty good in my life, you know, despite the circumstances that I've endured growing up as a young man in Mississippi. Me and my brothers and sisters, I'm the oldest of 6 kids. Sometimes we went hungry until the next day. You know, the only time we ate at school was at school sometime. My grandmother and my grandfather would go into their deep freezer, into their refrigerator, and bring food to I lived in the projects. I lived in a really, really rough part of the section of Mississippi where I was raised. I lived in a neighborhood so bad to where the police wouldn't show up until the gunshots stopped. Like, it was really, really bad, man. So as I told you before, staying with my dear and my papa and my daddy, they gave me a chance to kind of get away, because I could run and play where they lived. I had an uncle that lived right down the road from them, where he had goats, a mule, chickens, hogs, and he would, you know, pay me, you know, $2 a day to go and help him, you know, feed slops to the hogs and different things like that. You know, I come from a place where most of the people, they grew everything, you know, that they ate. But my mom, being a single mom of several kids at the time, you know, she struggled a lot. And I in between school and babysitting, things got really, really stressful on me, because I was the man of the house. at an early age. I left home at the age of 14 because my mom ended up getting involved with a guy that used to beat on her. And when I got of age, me and my brother, we weren't going for that anymore. But anyway, so the next day, my mom comes to pick me up. And the ride home, I tell my mom what I saw. I tell her the entire story, just like I'm telling you. And my mom told me, oh, those have been around ever since I was a little girl. My mom told me those have been around ever since she was a little girl. She believed me because she saw it too. I don't know if it was in that same manner, but my mom has seen it too. My mom said those have been around ever since she was a little girl. She believed me. My mom told me those have been around ever since she was a little girl, and she believed me. She asked me if my dear and my daddy know I saw it, and they saw me looking at it too. And my mom told me not to repeat what I saw. But my brother, who was my best friend, I told him too. I told him what I saw too. He was a little skeptical at the time, but he knew that I wasn't lying. And I told him that Mama said she saw the same thing growing up as a little girl. And my mom said everybody around that part of the neighborhood knew about those things. This thing looked like a freaking giant but skinny, it had like a giant but skinny gorilla body. It wasn't as wide as a gorilla. But the just imagine if you take a giant baboon's head and sitting on top of a gigantic gorilla body. The snout and the face protruded, so the snout had the wrinkles in it. The face was a dark, almost leathery black. The face was like a almost dark, leathery black. The eyes, I couldn't really see the color on the one that was facing the kitchen window. All I could see was black from the side. Now, when it faced to look towards us, when it faced to look towards the one that was crawling on the ground, all I could see was black. But this thing clearly had like a gorilla. It had a gorilla face, but the snout was more protruded, if that makes sense. And the female looked almost identical, just a little bit smaller. That woman came to that window and looked at that thing without any fear. She was not afraid. And this is not a big woman I'm talking about. This is a small woman. This was not a big woman. This was a small Native American and African American woman. I have the hair standing on top of my head right now. Those things can snake around like a freaking snake. The arm wrapped around that house, I saw like at least 2 feet of arm after I saw the head. And the body snaked around. And then that's when the right arm, I think, either way, the other arm came around. And not even half of the body, the first portion of the body I saw, and I saw something else dangling. And I thought it was the arms, and I'm like, how in the hell do I see arms already? The head and the back that I'm seeing so far in this thing doesn't account for arms showing. It was breasts. Now that I look back on it, hindsight is 20/20. And back then as a kid, I paid attention to a lot of stuff. Those were breasts on that thing. And it snaked around. The belly wasn't touching the ground, but it was a few inches above the ground. I'm not gonna say a few inches, maybe 10 inches above the ground. But this thing was crawling. And it moved, man. This thing looked like a freaking giant black snake. I'm telling you. I know what I saw. I know what I saw. And I love my mom, and I know what my mom told me. And I know what I saw for myself.
Wow, is right. Jeez.
Yeah. So they talk about, it's been talked about, well, real quick, about them spider crawling.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go,
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to imagine what that would look like, but I know there's some depictions out there. In the hearing the description, it sounds like, and if you're not familiar with this, go out and check it out, but look for pictures of the Beast of Seven Chutes, Chuttes, and it's this baboon-faced kind of Bigfoot. Some people are calling them Gugwe. There's maybe other names out there, type 4s, type whatever. So check it out. But that does sound like what this man is describing. But we are going to go to break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal in just a couple minutes. We'll be right back.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
They linger in a perpetual dream state, a nightmare from which they cannot wake. not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Yes, they can, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Paranormal Portal. Hour number 2 is upon us. Hope you guys are doing great. Thank you so much for being here as we dive into the second hour of the amazing fun that is the Portal. Thought I'd play since we're not getting the bumpers from the network here, I thought I'd play that for all of you on YouTube, just so I had the root file here. And I thought I'd jam it. We were jamming, but anyway, we got a lot more to get through. Yeah, that Germer file was just intense.
Yeah.
Very intense. There's lots of people that like to habituate them. And Don brought up a good question. It's like, yeah, I wonder how that works when she doesn't have anything to give them.
Right.
And that's a big thing that comes up oftentimes in habituating situations is they're great as long as you're playing with them and playing according to the rules. But if you ever don't have something to offer,
right,
they have a tendency to have real tantrums.
They have bad reactions to that.
Yeah, they don't deal well with disappointment. I'll just say that. We've heard so many horror stories through the years about how that really goes sideways. So I wouldn't encourage anybody to do the habituation route, but I know people try to. I think if you're going to do that, the other part, of course, is, well, in this case, it wasn't so bad. She was feeding animals to them, and so there's probably going to be able to handle that just fine. But
right, because even last time we talked to Bear, Bear's like, what is our human food, that we process and we cook, that kind of stuff. What is it doing to them?
Right.
Is it turning them into diabetics is specifically what he said.
Yes.
So, yeah. But, natural things like, cats, rats, and other rodents.
Sure.
Yes, cat sounds like rats, so therefore it's a rodent. But raccoons are actually pretty nice.
Anubis will probably forgive you for that.
Well, that's okay.
He's
okay.
He's all right. Okay. But no, I think that, the other considerations is not only the diabetes, but, what about their teeth?
Right.
Our processed sugary foods would probably drill holes through their teeth. And what do they do when they can't eat? What are they going to do? Starve to death? And so I think those are really important considerations if you're going to try to feed them something. If you really want to go that route, I don't encourage it. But if you do, stick with natural foods, things that they would be exposed to anyway. Don't try to introduce them to like Hershey's bars and stuff like that, because it could go horribly wrong. And then think about something that's 9 or 10 feet tall, built like a semi-truck on a sugar high.
Oh, God. Or on a sugar crash.
I can tell you what a minion that has a sugar rush going on, how disruptive that can be. And then if you put another, 600, 700, 800 pounds of muscle on top of that and 6, 7, 8 more feet of that, then that could be a mess in a hurry. But at any rate, that was a great file. Special thanks again to Wes Germer and Sasquatch Chronicles for letting us showcase those. That's the only one we're going to do tonight. We are going to do the rest just in our old-fashioned way, talking about phenomena, Don.
All right.
Phenomena. Do-do-do-do-do. Phenomena. Do-do-do-do. Phenomena. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Awesome.
Time for the Paranormal Portal musical review.
I don't know. It's just, if we don't go full stupid once in a while, we probably get boring. Maggie said, "This is why I come back." Well, thank you for that. The honest to God, Don and I have no idea what we're going to do on any show. We have a rough outline of things we want to do, but then the show becomes its own thing. So right off the bat here, I want to get to an article from Factinate.com, and this is real life supernatural encounters. And it looks like I read through a few of the top ones. It's like, wow, these are pretty good. So hopefully you guys feel the same way. It's kind of similar to the last article that we just did from Just for Spooks, which is a list of 26. These Factinate articles are huge, so this could take weeks to get through the course of several shows. But this is written or compiled by Sarah Ng, N-G. I don't know how to pronounce that for sure. Ning? Okay. Yep. Sarah Ning is the author of this, and she's apparently a writer. She's an artist, writer, and poet. When she's not knitting or painting flowers, she can be found consuming copious amounts of tea and watching Jeopardy.
Oh, my.
Wow. She's got an incredible life.
You know, I heard, what's his name? Geordie LaForge. What's his name?
Oh,
Lamar Burton.
Yeah,
Lamar Burton was going to take over Jeopardy. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But Captain Picard didn't like it because he'd never put his crew in jeopardy.
Ooh. Dang. I'm so dry I needed a drink. All right. Hairball. All right. Real life supernatural encounters. Let's get to the first one on this list. This is A Laugh from the Past. This is one of them that I read, and I was like, oh, my God. Okay, so let's get this up on screen for those of you that can to read along with us. When my son was little, he had what we called his silly laugh. It sounded a lot like a laugh my grandmother had. My grandmother's laugh was because of a brain aneurysm, and it paralyzed the left side of her body, including the vocal cords and lips, and it gave her a very distinct and odd-sounding laugh. My son never met my grandmother, as she had passed away even before I met my husband. As such, we didn't think much of it until one terrifying day. My son was 4, and my mother and I were going through some old photographs, and my grandmother was in one of them. She was in her 20s in the picture, and my son looked at the picture and said, my grandmother's name. He also said that she was the lady that taught him how to do his silly laugh. He never met her or had seen the picture before. Wow, so she was coming and hanging out. That's beautiful.
Wow. That's
beautiful. That was by IBS2PID. I don't know what that means. IBS2PID. Oh!
I be stupid.
Oh,
yep,
yeah. Nice.
Oh, jeez.
I said, I don't know what that means, and then I said it. It's like, I be stupid? Okay.
It's like an ID10T.
Yeah, I know that. I was in IT for a long time. We'd always do that, the ID10T errors. It spells idiot. Just in case you ever have a tech guy coming up and trying to throw words at you and you hear that. They're calling you an idiot. Just saying. All right, number 2, kid stuns detective. I was very young, probably 7 or 8 years old. My mother had gone to the store and left me alone. This is in the early 1980s in a small town in Mississippi, y'all. It was a different time. It had to be a Saturday morning because I was watching cartoons and I heard a knock on our front door. And we didn't have a window or a peephole since, again, y'all, it's a small town in the middle of Mississippi. So I opened the door and there's an elderly man standing there bleeding from the head. Ooh. He was wearing these thick gold Coke bottle glasses, a bright red short sleeve shirt with a pocket protector, blue jeans, and a belt buckle that had Eddie engraved on it in big letters. He said he was in a car accident down the road and if I could please call for help.
Eddie, are you okay?
Eddie, are you okay? All right. He said his wife was still trapped in the car, and I told him to come and sit down on our couch. He did, and I shut the door. I went into the kitchen and called our local emergency department and told them about the accident. When they asked where the accident happened, I realized I didn't know, so I yelled out to the man, "What road did this happen on?" And I got no answer. I told the operator, "Hold on," and walked into the living room, and the man was gone. I didn't hear our squeaky door open, so I knew he didn't leave. Also, there was an imprint on the couch from where he had been sitting. I looked in my bathroom to see if maybe he had gone in there to wash the blood off his head, and he wasn't there, so I looked in my bedroom and in my mom's bedroom, nothing. I guess he'd left. When I came back to the phone, I told the emergency operator that the man was gone, and I didn't know that he had left. I gave them my address, and some of the officers and firefighters came to my house, and I told them about what had happened. What the man had been wearing, everything. The officers searched the area and found nothing. They talked to my neighbors who said they didn't hear anything and didn't see anyone matching the guy's description. By this time, my mom got back home, and she was mad at me, and I got in trouble for making a false emergency call. Months later, when I got off the school bus one afternoon, there were squad cars everywhere at my house. A detective was waiting inside with my mom and said he wanted to ask me some questions about the phone call that I'd made about the man asking for help a few months previously. So I told him the story again, and I gave him the man's description. After I was done, he just sat there staring at me with his mouth and hanging wide open. He thanked me for my time, told me I wasn't in trouble, and they gave me an officer teddy bear, and then they talked to my mom for a bit and then left. After they had been gone a few minutes, my mom called me back into the dining room and sat me down at the table. And that's when I learned the disturbing truth. The detective has said that they'd found the car that had driven off the road less than a mile from our house and had found 2 bodies inside. One was thought to be a male and the other female. The car was completely destroyed and upside down about 60 yards off the road in a very rural and heavily wooded area, which is why it took them so long to find them. The body, thought to be male, was wearing exactly the same clothes I had described. Both of them were pinned inside of the car upside down, and both were still wearing their seatbelts. My family and friends treated me really weird for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, that was by Not the Juggernaut.
So the thing is the ghost of the man came to the house.
Yep, came for help.
Because if he was still buckled in, wow.
Yeah, he was buckled in and trapped. They were both trapped. But maybe there was still hope for his wife. But no. Number 3, it's all a simulation. My boyfriend and I were taking a walk through a long park trail that on the outskirts of Seattle, and we just happened to go down the Life is Simulation and Mandela Effect rabbit hole. We had an ongoing joke about it since we had so many strange experiences. We will casually be like, well, the simulation is messed up again, and we do this semi-regularly. We just happen to be talking about everything and how life has been so strange ever since we started paying attention to it like that. The park wasn't very crowded at all that day, so we were walking behind a single family with 2 women and a few kids running around, probably more than 50 yards ahead of us. My boyfriend jokingly pointed to the birds and said, "Yep, it's all fake." So I jokingly pointed to the family ahead then said, "That family's fake too. Someone's probably watching us watch them." And that was the exact moment it happened. The 2 women completely freeze in their tracks and stop talking. They then turn around and stare in our direction, completely in sync. I thought maybe they heard me, but I repeated to him that even with strong, that it's impossible because I pretty much whispered and they were so far ahead. They continued to stare without moving a muscle. We both looked behind us like, are they looking at us? But no one else was in sight. They just froze. No movements. The kids were standing around silently too, and it lasted for such a long time that even though we were far away, we ended up having to walk right by where they were standing. As we passed by, they continued to stare into nothing. It was so uncomfortable, but it didn't feel right to say anything. We truly just didn't understand. It took us the rest of the walk to try to digest what had just happened. And we weren't even in a joking mood anymore, just weirded out. They didn't talk, no emotion. They weren't looking for anyone. They just froze. As soon as we were about 20 feet past them, they just resumed walking and talking like nothing had happened, and the kids were playing again. It still gives me the chills.
Huh.
That was by Luna Sophie 29.
Wow.
Well, it could very well be a simulation. I don't know. Maybe that's how you trigger it, is if you start talking about it all the time. Maybe then you start experiencing the simulation.
I don't know if I want to.
I know. It's just, you'd be like Cypher in the Matrix. Just give me the steak.
In a way, yeah, because that's what I was just thinking. This big giant T-bone. I know it's not really there, but when I put it in my mouth, I kind of like the taste of my T-bones. But I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, do you really want to believe that? And you know, sometimes you can, and sometimes it's like, wow, do I even want to know?
You can't unknow it once you know it, and that's
True.
the hard part.
True.
So, I mean, for this person, if this is indeed a genuine story, then everything for the rest of your life is just got to be like, what's the use?
Right.
You know? This is all just pretend. So, like, ever watch Rick and Morty? There's this one episode where they do, like, this life machine, and they put on this helmets, and you go through this whole life experience in just seconds. And it was just really bizarre. You'd have to watch it. I'm not going to try to paraphrase it. Because
I don't think you can.
It wouldn't be funny if I tried, but it was a really funny episode. It was like, you know, they put on this helmet, and for them, they're living this whole life, having kids, grandkids, seeing everything transpire, and then boom, it's done. Like he dies, and then he takes off the helmet, and he's back right there with Rick, and going, "What happened? What happened? Where did the family go?" And he goes, "Oh no, you got a good score though." You know, it's like an arcade machine.
I've never seen that show.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, but it's kind of makes you wonder. Maybe we're all plugged in. Maybe we're doing that for some other reason. Maybe we're reliving a past that once existed. Maybe that's what we're here doing.
Maybe.
I don't know. Number 4, a shade of gray. My parents' 2-story house had a living room that connected to the stairs leading to the second floor of the house, and you could see completely down the hall on the second floor from the couch in the living room. One time, my family went away on vacation, so I had my cousin come over while I house sat for them. I'd been alone in this house for a couple of days now, and I just really wanted company. So we're sitting on this couch playing Xbox, and the stairs leading to the second floor are almost out of my vision. At the very top of the stairs on the left is a doorway leading to a bathroom, and nothing else. We were up pretty late gaming when out of the corner of my eye, I saw a gray face lean out and stare at me for a split second.
Yeah, that's not creepy.
I didn't budge. I just barely noticed it, but as soon as I did, it was gone. I hadn't snapped to look at it, nor did I say anything. I just continued gaming for about 3 seconds until my cousin said, "Did you just see that?" As soon as our eyes connected, we both knew that we had seen the same thing. The second my cousin said that, I felt my heart sink. It scared me a lot to have him pretty much confirm what I had seen, but brushed it off, and I had immediately assumed it was just one of those blurs or darting shadows you get in the corner of your eyes at times. The creepiest part is that it slid out as if it were lying on the floor. Whatever it was, its head was at level with the top of the steps, right at the bottom of the bathroom door frame. Yeah, that's not creepy at all.
Oh.
It just sort of slid out, stared, and then slid back again. I just saw it from the corner of my eyes, but it appeared to be gray-skinned with black hair. Our descriptions matched too. We went upstairs and checked out the bathroom, including insides of luggage bags in the closet. We never found anything, and to this day, I still can't have a door in my house open. I'm afraid I'll be looking down the hall and some gray-skinned creature will just lean half its face out to silently stare at me and then vanish. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yep. Not the shark from Jaws is who submitted that one.
Bruce.
Oh, yeah, Bruce. Yep. Okay, we got 7 minutes left. The obituary came out too soon.
Oh.
I had a phase in my mid-teens when I would read the obituaries in the local newspaper.
Wow.
It's great fun. I saw a name that was familiar as it was the same as a family friend. It had his full first, middle, and last names. I didn't say anything to my parents since I figured they already knew. A few days later, my mom told me he passed, and I said I knew since I saw his obit. She said that's impossible. It just happened last night in his sleep. I went back through the newspapers. My mom kept them for a week before throwing them out, but the obituary wasn't there. When the real obituary came out, it had his first and last name, but just his middle initial. This is almost 40 years ago, and I still think about it. That was by the Old American. Yeah, those premature obits. That's got to be some kind of a psychic glimpse, maybe? I don't know.
Precog?
Yeah, but was it actually in front of him, or was it in his mind and he just was...
Yeah, his mind's eye. His eye, reading the obits and kind of spaced out for a second. Oh, yeah. I know that guy.
Yeah, I know that guy. Weird. Very strange. Good evening, beautiful. Paranormal Portal. Well, good evening to you, Susie Genuine. Good to see you. And good evening to all of you guys here. Thank you so much. Number 6, the pen is mightier. A few years ago, I made a pen pal. Made a pen pal from another state through a website for that sort of thing. We talked a lot with very extensive and specific letters for about a year and some months. And she told me about her childhood, her high school experiences, and what she was going through at that time. Her family, her house, her city, everything. One day she tells me that she was going on a vacation and couldn't send letters, so she sent me her Instagram handle in case of emergency or if I wanted to talk to her. Honestly, I tried to find her before on social media, but her name and surname were too common. We were very close, and I didn't like talking to my pen pals on social media, but one day I wanted to tell her about an accomplishment I made. So I go to the username she sent me, but it didn't seem very active. She had no bio, no profile pic, and only one photo. Well, I recognized her face because we sent pictures of each other. I opened the photo and see it was from 2016. It had so many comments, weird, as she would almost no followers, and I thought maybe this isn't her main account anymore. But then I opened the comments. All the comments were from family members and friends that she had talked to me about. They were all giving their condolences and saying how much they missed her. I didn't know what to think, so I tried to look up what happened to her. Apparently, she'd been murdered in early 2017, the year we started writing to each other.
Wow.
I was thinking it was a bad joke, so I kept writing letters as if nothing happened. And I asked her specifically about 2017, though, if it had been a good year or not, and she told me a lot of things that happened that year, and then she went out with a creepy guy for a while, and after that I got too freaked out, and I stopped writing her. She stopped writing to me too, but it still haunts me, and I still don't understand what the heck happened there. That sounds like, I know certainly it sounds paranormal, but it almost sounds like somebody's assuming that identity and just doing some really creepy stuff.
Or, somebody thought it would be funny, they share a name with somebody that they found.
Yeah.
They Googled their name and found somebody who died in a memorial page or whatever.
Sure.
And then just sent that link as their,
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. It's one of those that it's anybody's guess. Could it be real? Maybe. That's a hell of a lot of letters written by a spirit, though.
Right.
That's pretty incredible. I'd be having those examined for sure.
Definitely.
That's from Noah IDK. I don't know. Okay. I think we got... No, I don't have time for this one. So we're going to be going to break, ladies and gentlemen. This will be the last break already. Jesus. Wow.
Ah, crazy.
It is crazy, but remember tomorrow on the show, Deb Barner's going to be here.
Deb will be here, that's right.
Deb will be here, and there'll be free psychic readings to callers of the show.
Readings
starting
for
at
you.
For all of you out there. If you want a little peek into your upcoming life situations, then by all means participate tomorrow. I love to have Deb on because it's like giving you guys a treat. She's such an amazing person, and she does such a fantastic job.
She does, yeah.
And I guess this is kind of one way I can give back to you guys. And Deb loves doing this stuff. She's just been amazing. But it's just such a treat. And it's for you guys. So I hope you'll participate and be involved in that. Again, that'll be tomorrow night here on the show. So, what else do I need to say? Because we got like a minute.
Well, and no Paisley tonight, sorry to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not feeling good, so no Paisley. Of course, there'll probably be a rebroad on TFR, but no live show. And I don't think she'll probably have one tomorrow either. So maybe another rebroad for TFR folks.
Yeah, we sure hope she's going to be okay. I know that I was sick a few, with some stuff. So there's definitely stuff going around, and it's not just the coof. It's, the normal stuff is going around too.
The normal stuff. How weird is that?
I know.
Oh,
you almost don't hear anything about it anymore.
What's normal anymore?
Hey, flu season's here. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is, really. So, yeah, that's unfortunate, but I hope she's okay. Of course, our hearts go out to her and saying prayers of healing for Paisley.
There you go. And then Teespring.
Don't forget about Teespring.
No.
Now, we got one segment left. We're not like closing the show, but we oftentimes forget to mention this stuff if you want to help support the show.
We're just kind of cleaning up.
One of the ways you can do it, and it helps us out a bunch, is to go to teespring.com/stores/paranormal-portal. And the link is in our YouTube description if you want to check it out, but it helps us out a ton. And you can sport some incredibly good-looking gear. because it's Paranormal Portal stuff.
That's right.
Just saying.
That's right.
So we're about to go to break here, ladies and gentlemen. So don't leave, because we got a full half hour left of the show, and then we're going to drive on through that, and that'll be it. So if you want to, they always say save the best for last. Well,
here I am.
Don's here. I mean, what more could you want? We got him back after a while. It's nice to have you back in the saddle. So we're going to go to break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away. Again, don't.
Don't.
Just don't.
Go away.
Don't do it. There's no bumpers, of course, so we're just going to lead you in verbally. Welcome to the last half hour of our show. For those of you on YouTube, the network just came live now too, so welcome everybody to the last half hour of the journey tonight through the Paranormal Portal. Hope you're enjoying yourself and having a good time, and special thank you to all of you who are here. And remember, continue to spread the word about the portal. We love it when more people find out about us, and it's always fun to see new names pop up in the chats when that happens. So I don't see anybody new tonight. Do you, Don?
There was someone named Turfin earlier.
Okay.
I don't recognize that name. Susie to anyone's new to me, but hi.
Susie to anyone. Okay. Well, if you want a shout out, by all means type something so that we get your name on the list. But So far, Don, who's here?
So, participants in today's YouTube is Ramses, Ghost Magnet, Half Q, from halfway around the world. Con Squatch, Maggie M10, she's halfway around the world as well. Matthew's here, Paradox Fossils. Rachel gets it right, Ruger Ridge. Sissy, hi Sissy. Susie to anyone. Tracy Gale is here. Did I miss anybody that...
Dream just popped up.
Dream just popped up, yes.
That's a new name.
Well, Dream's been around for a couple, at least a few that I can remember.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
Well, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for being here on the journey with us, as always. It comes and it goes. And someone else just popped in.
Okay, yeah, Ruger Ridge.
Jem Gwynn.
Jem Gwynn. Yeah, she hasn't been around in a while. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. Sissy Lawson.
Yep.
Came, the fourth color finally popped up.
Yeah, well, the fourth color was earlier because they gave a donation.
Slowpoke. That's right. Yep. That's right.
Yep.
The fourth color.
Yep.
So I think that's everybody. If we missed you, did you say Ruger?
Yeah, I said Ruger.
Okay.
Well, I went back and said, and David Zeismer.
David Zeismer, good to see you.
He came to us from the podcast.
Justin Gooderth popped in.
Oh,
good to
hey,
see you,
Justin.
brother.
Mary R. Yeah.
Mary R.
Yep. Oh, now everybody's talking.
Now.
Roll call's done. You guys are... gosh.
You get the tardy mentions. All right. So we're going through a list from Factinate, but I think I want to go through an article here because this is something that I've talked about many times on the show in talking about paranormal stuff. And our good friend, Mr. Brent Swanser, who's an exceptional writer, the top of my list for paranormal journalism. He did an article on ghosts and the weird world of the stone tape theory. Now, to paraphrase it, as I understand it, the stone tape theory is the idea that areas can record psychic events and then just replay them. And that's what gives rise to things like residual hauntings. Mm-hmm. And they're not actually haunted by an intelligent spirit that's trying to do anything. It's just events that happened and they just kind of replay.
Right.
So what triggers them, who knows? Could be any number of things or any combination of things. But, the old, we always see Grandpa sitting in the chair by the window where he always sat in life. Those kind of things can be residual. They may be intelligent too, but the way you tell the difference is if it never interacts with people or even shows that it's aware of people, it's probably a residual event and isn't actually an active haunting. So let's check this out. Ghosts and the Weird World of the Stone Tape Theory by Brent Swanser, February 13th, 2020. And this is, of course, on mysteriousuniverse.org. And if you ever want to check out a site with amazing stories, definitely check out mysteriousuniverse.org. It's also a great podcast as well. So much like the Paranormal Portal.
Yes. Almost as good.
Oh, well, I'm a little biased. I don't know if anybody's really in our ballpark, but no, I'm kidding. There's a lot of great podcasts out there, of course. But let's see what's going on in this article. It says, while ghosts and hauntings have been with humankind since as long as we have entertained the notion of an afterlife and the possibility of some part of us lingering after death, there has been some debate as to what ghosts actually are. For many, it might seem obvious that they are the disembodied spirits of the dead, doomed somehow to wander through the reality they left behind. But it is not always that simple. There has actually been much speculation among paranormal aficionados as to what ghosts really are, ranging from the conventional spirits of the dead to decidedly more fringe ideas like interdimensional interlopers, demons, and even time travelers, and I've covered this here before. Sitting among some of the more intriguing postulations on the nature of ghosts is that of what has gone on to become known as the stone tape theory. The basic concept of what is now known as the stone tape theory basically boils down to that certain locations, whether it be due to their construction, geological makeup, or some other unknown factor, have the ability to store mental energy or psychic impressions from certain past events, recording them in a sense as if images to film. It is speculated that under certain conditions, these events, usually the more traumatic the better, can imprint themselves upon the landscape and be played back like a videotape, leading to people seeing what they take to be ghosts, but which in fact are merely images from history being projected onto reality in an endless loop. These mysterious images are not always visible to everyone, typically only appearing to those who are sensitive to this stored energy or are keyed into it somehow, although it seems to depend on the place and the exact physical properties it holds. With quartz, crystalline rock, granite, and other limestone typically said to be the most conducive to storing these place memories. The idea that the environment and land itself can store past events and memories has a basic roots back to the 19th century with the work done by mathematician Charles Babbage. Babbage, yeah, B-A-B-B. It's like cabbage with a B. In 1838. Babbage, also sometimes known as the father of computing, came up with the idea that due to the transference of energy between particles, spoken words could leave permanent impressions in the air itself, which could become audible at certain times, even long after they had been spoken. And he once said the air itself is a vast library on whose pages are forever written all that man has ever said or woman whispered. So the woman's got to whisper, huh? Whatever, dude. Just kidding. At the time, Babbage explained
body with reproductive organs.
Oh yeah, God, yeah, new terminologies. Bodies with. Never mind.
Reproductive organs.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to say it right now. At the time, Babbage explained it in a very concrete sounding terms. It made it all sound perfectly plausible in his book, The Ninth Bridgewater Treatise, in which he writes of this theory. The pulsations of the air, once set in motion by the human voice, cease not to exist with the sounds to which they gave rise. Strong and audible as they may be in the immediate neighborhood of the speaker, and at the immediate moment of utterance, their quickly attenuated force soon becomes inaudible to human ears. The motions that they have impressed on the particles of one portion of our atmosphere are communicated to constantly increasing numbers, but the total quantity of motion measured in the same direction receives no addition.
Huh.
That's pretty thick. I feel smarter just having read that. The idea of inanimate objects holding the memories and utterances of the living really began to take off, gaining support by such 19th century psychic researchers as Eleanor Sidgwick and Edmund Gurney, who further postulated that buildings and places could hold these echoes of the past. There is also researcher William Fletcher Barrett, who believed that inanimate objects such as furniture or buildings could be imprinted with this psychic energy, and that could be detected by the living. He would say, in certain cases of hauntings and apparitions, some kind of local imprint on material structures or places has been left by some past events occurring to certain persons, who, when on Earth, lived or were closely connected with that particular locality. An echo or phantom of these events becoming perceptible to those now living. Excuse me. The idea really picked up in the early 20th century in the days of spiritualism, during which time it was commonly referred to as place memory. University of Oxford professor and former president of the Society for Psychical Research, Harry Price, was a major proponent of this idea. In 1938, asserting that places and even handheld objects could hold the residue of past events, which could then be divined by those who knew how to do so through an ability called psychometry. He truly believed that this could all fit into scientific ideals and could theoretically be tested if only we knew how, saying, they, place memories, must consist in some more or less permanent mode of arrangement of the molecules or atoms or infra-atomic particles of which the walls, furniture, etc. are composed. And in that case, it ought to be possible to verify their existence by the ordinary methods of physical science, by physical or chemical tests of some sort or other. But so far as we know, this cannot be done. These ideas floated around and were discussed right up into modern times, where they gained a lot of attention from British archaeologist turned paranormal researcher Thomas Charles Lethbridge in the 1960s. He believed that there was a sort of surrounding ether, or aether,
Aether, yes.
or a field that was an intermediate medium between spiritual and physical reality, which surrounded places and objects and could hold invisible fields that recorded past events etched into them. Like movies, according to Lethbridge, certain places associated with pain, suffering, or death were especially likely to hold these fields, and it was even more pronounced in places of high humidity due to water molecules helping the process along. So convinced was Lethbridge that this was a real scientific possibility that he believed most, if not all, hauntings and ghost sightings could be explained by simply past events replaying through these fields through non-interactive visual and audio representations. And he wrote extensively on this in his 1961 book, Ghost and Ghoul. It would not be until 1972 that the term stone tape would actually be used. When a BBC Christmas ghost story called The Stone Tape covered the idea that waves of light were absorbed into the walls to create hallucinations, was released to bring the term into the public consciousness. And the idea of place memory has been called the stone tape ever since. Alternatively called residual hauntings, the idea remained popular in later years as well, gaining some more traction with the work of chemist Don Robbins, who wrote of it in his book The Secret Language of Stone in 1988. Robbins believed that minerals and crystals could absorb outside electrical forces to store traces of the memories associated with a place. Man, I'm so froggy. Which could then be unlocked and viewed under certain circumstances when they formed a direct connection with the human brain. And he called this macrochip, the macrochip, okay. In 1989, researchers Cyril Smith and Simon Best would write of this notion in their book, Electromagnetic Man, in which it is written, drink for effect. At death, the whole entity of a person's acquired information field must become separated from the body, which is about to commence decay. If it is to retain any objective existence in the material world, there is the possibility that information could be written into environmental water, such as the retained in stone or brick of a building. The necrotic radiation, if this is indeed an electromagnetic phenomena, could be the origins of such memories and locations for events which happened there. This information might also be holographic in nature and be interpreted as an actual presence at that point in space and time that is the person might see a ghost. Okay. This is a big article.
It is, wow.
This idea has many permutations and has been pursued by various other researchers over the years since, but despite certain details, it all more or less settles in the basic idea that the environment, rocks, buildings, and even screws, nuts, and bolts within these buildings can acquire or accrue some sort of psychic resonance and can play back, under certain conditions, projected onto our reality like film on a screen. The stone tape theory has become a major proposal for some hauntings, especially those in places saturated with dark or turbulent pasts. And while it's all very interesting, it has, of course, attracted more than its share of critics. The main problem pointed out by skeptics is that while there has been a lot of technical sounding and pseudo-scientific theorizing thrown around for the stone tape theory, and it seems on the surface superficially plausible compared to the spirits of the dead, in the end there is absolutely no evidence at all that minerals, rocks, or structures can record things like a tape, let alone play it back, in any meaningful manner. Indeed, there is no plausible theory in mainstream science that even begins to describe a mechanism through which this might be possible, making it sheer speculation and supposition at best, and wishful thinking at worst. One typical skeptical summation of this can be found in the site Spooky Geology, which says, "I've never heard from one geologist who supports the STT, stone tape theory, idea as a plausible hypothesis. As is often the case, those out of their area of expertise misuse scientific concepts and can effectively deceive lay people by acting authoritatively. STT makes no sense in whatever context it is implemented. Not only do we still not have a reasonable mechanism to record, store, and retrieve traces, but why is just one event recorded? Why not a jumble of events? Why does the recording last for decades or centuries instead of getting overwritten? Why do only certain places have place memories? It's disingenuous of paranormal researchers to utilize STT as an explanation, or even to suggest it because it sounds science-y. Even more egregious are those paranormalists who geologize without having suitable knowledge of what they speak about and promote a pseudoscientific foundation for it. The stone tape theory is science fiction. When it is used to lend credibility to residual haunting, it is pseudoscience. Regardless of these criticisms, the stone tape theory and derivatives of it continue to be popular in the discourse on the nature of ghosts and hauntings, and doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. Is there anything to this at all? Could there be some spiritual or psychic energy transferred upon haunted places that allows scenes from the past to play back again and again on an endless loop? Is it possible that ghosts are not the wandering spirits of the dead, but rather no more than echoes of the past imprinted upon our reality? There's no way to know at this point, and the stone tape theory remains much thrown about. Fantastic article.
Yes. You know, and all of that, though, I mean, you know, there's so much for rebuttal on there. However, you know, not being a science guy, you know.
Sure.
But he talked about, you know, the crystals and the minerals, the granite, the limestone, the quartz, you know, things like this.
Right.
Things that we know resonate with
Energy.
anything, any energy. And plus he also talked about how, you know, once you say the words, they don't gain going forward, but they multiply from the peripheral. Because sound waves don't just go forward. You can't get more sound in front of something you just said, but you can get sound around the peripheral. So, you know, so you're seeing that ripple effect of the water, this pebble on the water, you know, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And, you know, it multiplies in its energy.
Yeah.
You know, and energy doesn't stop. We know this. So I don't see why if you even think about quantum entanglement, though,
Yeah.
you know, we've already been heard all the way across the known universes, you know?
Sure.
So, yeah, whatever.
Well, I think it's so they're looking for a chemical or physics.
Yeah, they've got to have
manner.
that
Right.
repeatable thing. you
And
know?
unfortunately, we're just not geared towards really measuring other more esoteric energies.
Right.
We can't even, well, I mean, such things as like chi or mana or prana or whatever.
Right.
Those kind of concepts that we are these energetic beings, not
Right.
just neurochemical
Well,
synapses.
Spirit and consciousness. And,
Right.
You know, yeah.
But we are in this network of energy, and fundamentally, all things break down to energy. At its most fundamental point, when you break down something enough, you're left with energy.
Right.
Like there is no real matter. It's you know, the fact that we pick this up. This is electrons. You know, keeping this in my hand because there's an opposition to my hand force. It's a repelling, but in truth, there's so much we just don't understand.
Right.
And so, sure, it sounds like pseudoscience because you can't take a ruler and measure it. You can't look at it under a microscope or some other physical means to examine this. Now, I think, you know, Tesla hinted that everything is frequency and vibration and energy.
Right.
So this is kind of what he's talking about, I think, is the building blocks of all things. And once we understand those mechanisms and are able to observe them and to study them in the, you know, in their true,
In a quantifiable way.
right,
Right.
then we can probably unlock the keys to the universe. But as long as we're using these, you know, it's like trying to use a hammer and a chisel to etch or draw a work of art on paper. You know, it's like we got the wrong tools for the job. We don't have the right tools right now.
Right.
All we have is us and some ideas, hypotheses, concepts that we're trying to work with. So yeah, I mean, I suppose in the realms of science, parapsychology is a pseudoscience because it can't be tested and measured and quantified the same way. We need new tools and new understandings of the universe around us in order to get to the point where maybe we can develop a tool that we can listen to the air, hear everything that was ever recorded in that air, if that is possible. If the air indeed distort it, or other, you know, look at this desk, look at the wall behind me and know everything that happened in this room.
Right.
You know, maybe there is something to that because information, is energetic, and so is information ever lost? I don't know. Maybe it exists in some form in the great, you know, there's the idea of the Akashic Records.
Right. Right.
You know, you hear people talk about Akashic Records, and that is basically that all knowledge exists in the universe, and we have access to that through meditation and practice and working to connect with that universal mind. Now, I think there's something to that. I think people do connect with those Akashic records. I'm not real big on the terminology, but the point being is that I think there is a universal mind, and I think it's one part of what we understand to be, God or something. Right. This is my own feelings, but I think we can connect to that.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody talk about something, and in my head, I understand it, even though I'm like, how the hell do I know what that is? It's like maybe we touch that, or the person working on the problem, and they're working on it, and all of a sudden, boom, and they go to take a nap, and they got the answer. Maybe that's connecting to that Akashic records and stuff. Maybe that's what it happens. So perhaps it's the same way for psychic events.
Right. Yeah.
That they get stored in this universal energy field and can maybe be recalled.
Well, and hey, there's Gigi. Hi, Gigi. Nice to see you finally. Rachel Gets It Right says we can capture light on photography film. Why can't we? Why can't physical energy images be recorded upon other objects?
Sure.
And that's quite reasonable.
Yep.
But the thing is somebody said something about just being able to pull it out. Crystals store that energy if we know how to pry it out,
right.
Says Susie.
Yep.
And you're absolutely right. But the thing is, though, is you have to be in some way attuned to it to, be able to into, in my opinion, this is my opinion, to into that information, and because I don't think there'll ever be a quantifiable way to actually put it across. It just is what it is. And that's why we need people like, Deb Varner. We need people like, all these people that we know, Barb Charlton for, the tapping that she does. And that's working
Sean.
with, Sean and Josh.
Joel.
And
Joel.
Yeah, Joel. Yeah.
Yep.
Gosh, where's he been? Haven't seen him in a while either.
Right.
And then, of course, we need Uri Geller to tell us, that we're doing it all wrong.
Well, Uri Geller's saving the world regularly, folks.
Well, that's true, yeah.
He's always after it. But
Urinal Geller.
Rachel did say earlier, and I thought this was hilarious, she said, a residual haunting is grandpa sometimes appears in his favorite chair. An active haunting is grandpa sometimes yanks you out of his favorite chair.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's, residual and active, yeah. Definitely.
What about tat camera that captures auras? Oh yeah, what is that?
Psychic photography.
No, there's a name for Carillion photography.
Oh, okay.
Is the one that's and there's something to that. I mean, I think the tools are coming. I think that's
right.
We will get to the point where we can start really exploring this stuff, but until then, we're kind of stuck with just ideas, and certainly having a repeated event play out over and over in the form of residual haunting.
Right.
Is a repeatable demonstration,
right?
And but the problem is you don't know when or why.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is that repeating? What is the trigger?
Right.
Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's just an astronomical thing that triggers a release of that energy every once in a while.
Right.
Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's some biorhythm of the earth in conjunction with the biorhythm of the people, and if it hits right, then it'll replay. Who knows? I mean, it's all energy, but it's just fun stuff, and I really wanted to explore that because I've mentioned it many times over the years, and I love that Brent Swanser put that article together. So you can help get involved with Brent Swanser. He has a group on Facebook, and it's Dark League Paranormal. So look for Dark League Paranormal.
Yeah.
You can get to know the guy. He's really awesome, great guy, and always has great things going on over in his group.
He does kind of remind me slightly of the Terminator, though. Did you see that picture of him?
Yeah. I saw that a while ago too, but it's a good picture.
I was looking at him like,
he's a handsome guy.
They actually have 7-Elevens in Japan.
Oh, dude, they got
KFCs,
they got McDonald's, they got Burger Kings, all over the place. They're global, but the menus will trip you up. Like in McDonald's in Indonesia, fried chicken and rice, baby.
Yeah.
Fried chicken at McDonald's. Go
There you
figure.
go.
It's good stuff, too, I got to say. But anyway, Don.
Is it time?
It's time.
Yeah,
We've reached
boy.
the end of our journey, ladies and
Wow.
gentlemen. Thank you for all of you that stuck it out with us. Thanks you to those of you that managed to find your way here. It's always wonderful to hang out with you guys and get spooky.
Get spooky.
We love getting spooky up in here. So at any rate, thank you so much. I will be back tomorrow night with Deb.
Yep.
And we'll be doing free psychic readings to callers of the show. So if you want a free psychic reading, you got to call in tomorrow, 720-923-0500. And you're going to be on hold for a while.
Call early, hold long.
Call early, hold long. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Don, anything quick?
Good night.
Okay. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. Love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow night with Deb Varner right here on the show. So
good night.
Until then.
Bye-bye.
Good night.